Hello, my name is Linda Norris-Walt, and I am Advocacy and Chapters Director for the U.S. Composting Council. And I'm here to give you a brief tour of our new advocacy pages on the Composting Council website. So I will share my screen and give you a look at what we have for you. So first of all, we are on the home page, and what you do from here is go to the far right to the section called Advocacy, where you can find several categories that I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment. But first, you can click on the Advocacy tab. And here you can find an introduction to the importance of advocacy for the U.S. Composting Council. This describes why we do what we do, the importance of healthy soils, carbon sequestration, landfill diversion, and other business reasons why composting is important to our country and our world. So go ahead and scroll through and take a look at that. The first thing you'll notice is that we have three large buckets that we've organized things into. One is all about state issues, which is where we do much of our work along with our chapters in advocacy for composting. There are current issues and the issues that we find ourselves having to work with over and over again. So those have been organized into another section. And we have put together a toolkit for all of our members and for our new advocate membership, which are people that have joined the organization just to help us advocate for the industry. And if you want to join that membership, you can click right here on the advocate membership page and learn all about it. So other things you will notice on this first page is at the bottom, we've put some quick links for things that we know people want to learn about, which is the state model rule for composting, which is being rewritten right now, persistent herbicides, PFAS, compostable products and contamination mitigation / extended producer responsibility, a growing issue, and a list of our staff if you want to reach us that works on advocacy issues. So I'm going to hop back up here to the state issues section and go through that first. So here we have resources all about things that tend to happen at the state level, which include the model composting rules, which I mentioned earlier. That is under the model rule template is where you can dive into this issue more. And here we actually have the model rule template plus a description of the process of updating the template that is underway right now. So you can take a look at that there. You can also go to our heavily trafficked state regulations page. This is where you can find out who to talk to in your state about state regulations. So we also have links to the regs and try to keep that as updated as possible. And HESA is in charge of that. So if you find something that you think is out of date, please go to that homepage for advocacy and let her know. So heading back over to the state section, we also have gathered all of the organics ban materials on one page, showing you all the states that have organics bans and also their legislation, and in some cases, their regulations that may put these bans into force. We've also included cities with both bans or mandates requiring composting. And we have a rich grouping of articles and background on organics bans. So if you are considering an organics ban in your state, this is a great place to look for resources. So heading back, we have traveled through the state issues for now. We will be constantly developing these areas, so please feel free to visit it again. Issues. So I already mentioned some of the top issues that we find ourselves facing. So right now we are working heavily on infrastructure and the Compost Act, as well as infrastructure and financing and grant programs in state legislatures, which is where a lot of our chapters are actually working very hard. We also have a number of resources that we released in winter of 2020 about PFAS, what we know, what we've gathered, what we know about testing, and some information about how you can respond when you get questions from customers or community members about PFAS and compost. We also have gathered our lengthy history working with persistent herbicides and information about what we've done over the years to try to get those taken off the market, or at least modified to uses that don't quite impact composting the way that they have. And then this last section about sensible state regulations has another connection to the state regulations page, the model rule template, and other talking points and letters, which I'm going to show you in a moment, about our history working in states. But this may be developing over time as our chapters are doing more work on state regulations. So keep an eye on this page as well. So that takes care of what we're doing in the states. I'm going to head back over to those three buckets again, and excuse me, that was our issues. And lastly, I'm going to take you over to our Advocacy Toolkit, which is a rich treasure trove of information for you if you are an advocate member, or if you are a member that is in the position of advocating. Even if you're not having an advocate membership, we all should be taking part in this. So in this section, first, we have a page dedicated to talking points and sample letters. And what this is a resource for is you can look at what other excuse me, states have done in terms of letters of support that USCC has provided for regulations and legislation in those states. And they're described on these descriptions on the PDFs. These are all downloadable PDFs that you can look at, and you can feel free to borrow language from those for any types of position letters that you want to develop, letters to the editor or other testimony statements, etc. You can find some language in those. Current and key issues. This is going to take you to some of the same things we've talked about before, but maybe in a different frame. This will be updated every couple of months with an article about a recent issue that we've been working on. Currently, issues that we had were last spring, Maryland's organics law, the compost infrastructure through the Compost Act, and the work we're doing in EPR and having an EPR task force. So feel free to look at those. I also have a link here that we are going to be developing more, but the Compost Research and Education Foundation produces International Compost Awareness Week, which is a fantastic way to advocate in your community and to increase awareness of composting at all times, so that if you do have issues in your community or at your state level, you will be able to access or you will have had a history of talking with your legislators through compost awareness. Additionally, we have a section called Find Your Legislator, and this will take you over to the regulations page again, which you already saw, but also notice here that you can click on these links, put in your address, and it will take you to your legislators that you may want to reach out to for your issues. So I will, the same thing with state regulators. If you click on the state, it will take you right down to the section of the page with your state regulator. Here again, we have a quick, convenient way for you to join as a compost advocate if you are not one already. And this section, Be a Better Advocate, is our last section that has a number of tools. Again, find your legislator and regulator, which everybody always needs. We also have a number of other tools. Our chapters, we talked to them and came together with a white paper about how to advocate on Zoom, which many of our chapters were doing during 2020 and early 21 because of the pandemic. And we think that this will be a thing. So this will help you to understand best practices for being on Zoom meetings with legislators and regulators. The second one, we have been approached by people who are either members or even not members and advocates who have compost facilities proposed for their counties or their cities, and they want to support those compost facilities, and they're looking for wording to put together testimony or letters to the editor. So that is a place where you can find a letter of support. You can download this letter of support and use as much of that language as you would like for that local letter. We also have sample letters to the editor about composting, general letters of support that you can do anytime throughout the year, or if there's a special reason why you need it. Also, our compost benefits fact sheet, which is one of the most downloaded pieces on our website that puts into user-friendly language the scientific principles behind why compost is good for us. We also are having a webinar, which you might have seen. I don't know if you will be looking at this after November, but if you we will probably post the link to this recording about this fantastic webinar we're doing on November 17th. We also have posts on social media that you can use by clicking there, and also a lot of information about compost use on our compost use pages. So we encourage you to definitely explore the Be a Better Advocate section so that you can use these tools. When you do advocate, we are really wanting to gather that information about how many people are out there talking about the industry, meeting with regulators and meeting with legislators. So we do have a form where you can report any action that you've taken. The other importance of this form is if you are an advocate member, there is a competition with prizes for advocacy that's done throughout the year. And this is where you will record what you have done to advocate for composting so that you can be in that competition. So explore the advocate membership if you want to know more about that. So I will take you back to the homepage of advocacy just to refresh where you can find it. It is on our menu on the far right, and you can access these 4 large buckets here. And you can click on advocacy to see the homepage for advocacy. Thank you very much for everything that you do for composting. We are excited to have everyone using these tools and advocating for us and for the compost industry and for healthy soil. Thank you very much. Signing off.